I want to get your thoughts. I mean, when you started in Pancrase, no one had heard of MMA. People forget the UFC was maybe not even legal at the time. It sure wasn't a big brand. Japan was where all the action was happening. I've been to 2 Pride events myself, and they were always considered better than the UFC back then. What's it like for you to watch the evolution of MMA, and how do you describe it to people? How far it's come into where now you can see the UFC and even a karate combat, and the quality is so high.
It's really crazy. I predicted everything, but I was way off with the years. I think in '93, I said in 5 years, this is going to be the biggest sport in the world. But I was like a whole bunch of years off. But yeah, you're right. When I was competing, it was legal in 3 states only. So we had to watch out. The weigh-ins, they were in a hotel room with your corner. Now you got 7,000 people going to the weigh-ins. No social media, all that crap. Thankfully, we didn't have to do that. And then, to see the rules change, to see weight classes coming in. When I went to the UFC, that was the first time when they established a weight class, because in Japan, I was fighting open weight. So you just fight everybody. It was actually fun to find out on the day of the first fight. When my opponent walked in, who was like 33 pounds heavier, and I go, is he not too heavy? And then the promoter goes, no, we fight everybody. Oh, great. So I tried to force a smile. And then I said, how many rounds are we fighting? And he goes, 1. I go, great. How many minutes? He goes, 30. I go, great. And I look at my manager, I go, shit, what is going on here? But that small organization started everything. And if you look at Pancrase, I believe he produced 6 or 7 UFC champions from that tiny organization that there was. So the skill level was really high with Pancrase, especially the ground fighting, because the Japanese, they're really good on the ground, very smart. The rules were all adapted to them, so put shoes on. Well, that's bad for leg locks. Hey, that happens to be their specialty. You see things like that, no gloves. Open hand strikes to the face, fist to the body, but no gloves. Much easier to slide in chokes and doing all the crazy submissions. You see, so what annoying was, though, when I left Pancrase, within 3 months, they changed the rules to the same rules as everywhere on the planet. I go, you're serious? You were waiting for me to leave this organization, and now I can finally close my fist. But thankfully, I went to the UFC, so I was able to close my fist.
What was interesting about you, Bas, is that you found a way to adapt. And if anyone ever has an extra 2 or 3 hours, they need to watch your entire Pancrase fight selection, and Bas does the voiceover for the whole thing. And you talk about how that first fight, first of all, I think you didn't even have any shorts. You had borrowed like some shorts from somebody, but then you knew no ground game, or very little. And then by the second or third fight, you had been training and you adapted to this new sport, and you started learning all the submissions and learning how to counter them, and you forced yourself to evolve, whereas a lot of people wouldn't do that. And that always feels like the story of your career. I remember some crazy story, Bas, where you said you put 2 pieces of tape down the hallway of your home to make sure that when you walk down your hallway, you would do this in this new fighting stance that you created. Yep. I just had a flashback. So that was all you, always you, just adapting to the situation. That's what makes you unique, right?
That's it. It's just training it. Like I found out mixed martial arts. Why do we get tired? Well, the interrupting of the breathing pattern. What do you mean? Well, if you sprawl, if you're breathing constantly, your chest is expanding, but you sprawl, you're interrupting your breathing pattern. So once you combine striking with wrestling and the grappling, that's what makes you tired. So I thankfully realized, wait a minute, if I do my conditioning workouts, strength and conditioning workouts, why don't I do like I did everything 50 seconds. And then I take, for instance, I had a biceps, a triceps exercise, and then a stamina exercise. And I would do everything for 50 seconds, 5-0 to give me 10 seconds to go to the next station. But I have 12 exercises. I would do that whole thing. I would do it 3 times. So 36-minute workout with only a minute and a half break in between those 12 minutes every time. But that was the goal. That was the thing, because they said, oh my God, cross training. Remember, cross training. I just started doing that early on. So for me, I was always fighting bigger guys, but my endurance was much better than them. So I just had to weather the storm. And then slowly but surely, I would start taking over. And with the submissions, unfortunately, it took me 3 losses by the submissions and you have to understand, I'm in Holland. In Holland, there is no wrestling. And we didn't have the submissions. We have judo, and I walked with some guys over there, but that's not going to really do anything. But then after my last loss, I got so angry and I started becoming vocal. I started asking everybody who wants to train with me. And I found this one guy, 19 years old, Leon Van Dyke. And he was just a freak show. He was very talented, very great striker, but he picked up things fast. And we just said, okay, let's just watch videos, fights, and instructionals, and we're going to learn from it. And then I realized, wait a minute, I think I can find a different setup to go to that submission. Oh, wait a minute, now I got two setups. Why don't I create a third one or a fourth one? Because then once I start mixing those up, it becomes very hard for him to detect what I'm actually going to do. So, and then I became obsessed with it. And suddenly it was like my poor wife. I always tell this in interviews. I woke her up at least 5-6 times in the middle of the night because I would dream a submission. I would wake her up. I would put her in that submission. I would say, hey, it hurts your shoulder, right? Or hurts this, or hurts that. Yes, I would write it down. Next day I would go to the gym and I would try it out on my one guy that I have. So like I did 90% of my fights with one person that I had. But it worked because I put in so much work. I lost my last fight by submission, and then I won my next 8 fights by way of submission. And suddenly everybody was like, what's going on here? What was with the submission control? But 7 finishes. And that's what I went on the crazy winning streak, that I simply never lost anymore. And that's what I tell people all the time. Dude, if I can do it, you can do it. Everybody can do this. It's just doing it. And we're all so comfortable to stay where we are. Like if I'm in a gym and I know I can beat everybody up striking, that's a comfortable feeling for me. I kind of don't want to give that away, but I always put myself in the worst position possible. You tell me where I have to lay, on my belly, on my back, whatever it is. You take the best position you have, start. And I would start doing that. I kept doing that. And suddenly, people can't hold me anymore because my reversals became so good. I was just waiting for the right timing for him to make a mistake and I would reverse the guy. Like if you look at you were talking about some records that I did. I had 14 submission victories, but I never took anybody down. He never had a single takedown. But he still pulled off the 40 submission. That means that they took me down. I would reverse them or I would submit them from the bottom, but I would go for submissions. I actually fell in love with submissions. The thing I miss the most now, because of the 4 neck surgeries that I had, I simply can't grapple anymore. And that is a thing I would advise everybody at home. Also, if you have kids, especially ladies, if you have girls, put them in freaking jiu-jitsu. Because, the worst position to be for, let's talk, throw it out, raping, right? That's in between the legs, laying in between the legs. That position is actually a very strong position in the submission game. So once somebody is there, they can choke them with the legs, they can armbar them. There's a lot of stuff they can do from that position. So for a girl to know these skills, and it's really good for your cognitive function as well, problem-solving thinking, because, like for instance, I'm shooting a bow, right? So a friend of mine gave me a bow, really good compound bow, but there's a 50-pound pull. Well, I had 4 neck surgeries, and this arm is very weak. So I'm standing in the store, and I see the bow, and I can't. He says, "No, it's only 40 pounds." I say, "Yeah, this is easy for you to say," but I showed him my arm. This is a whole dent here, so it's atrophied. And the guy says, "Oh my God, you can't shoot." I say, "I can. Give me 1 second." And he goes, "What do you mean?" I said, "Just give me 1 second. Let me think." I said, "Oh, I got it." So I hooked on you have a little wristband with a little trigger on it that you hook onto the line and that you have to pull, right? So what I did, I just grabbed the back of my head. I pushed the bow forward. I said, "See, I can shoot." And the guy goes ballistic. He goes like, "Well, how did you come up with that?" I go, "Well, I guarantee it's from the submissions, right? This problem-solving thinking." But I did it on the spot. So he said, "Man, can I make a video? Because I know a lot of people have a problem with this. And now they can actually shoot because of what you did." But you see, that all comes from the submission game and trying to figure out how we get bypassed. Because if I push my arm out, if this is the end result that I need my arm to be stretched, I can also do this. I can push myself away. You see? Or I stretch it. Now it's stretched. But if I can stretch it here, I can move myself away. And then it's also stretched. Once you start thinking like that, then you can figure out a lot of problems.
Hey, I know investing in crypto is scary. It takes a real leap of faith because there are so many scams, rug pulls, and bad actors out there. It's a dangerous business, which is why 95% of people lose all their money. Well, that's why I created the London Real Investment Club, so you can access the hottest deals on the planet and use the crypto bull market to create the generational wealth that you deserve. Join my team of over 100 people from around the world that are making millions of dollars behind the scenes investing in blockchain, AI, Web3 games, DeFi, Bitcoin, and more. Don't miss out. Click the link below to book a call with one of my team now. But hurry, this bull market will end soon.
I know investing in crypto can be scary. That's why you gotta join the investment club. Pull the trigger. Let's do this.